Good evening, you guys. Your boy Bill Mahari here, represent MehariNation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC and the entire basketball community. We are back, baby. We are back. This is episode 33 of Basketball Conversations right here on this channel here, y'all. I'm glad to see that it's people that are my loyal people here, like Brandon Nicholson and Lewis Sports Network here, Lewis Sports Network in the building here, you guys. Appreciate all the love and support, though, man. Little bit of apologies though, guys. I had to take a week off because I was so exhausted with work this week, man, and it was a tough grind. You know what I mean? But I'm back, refreshed, and we ready to go, man. And tonight we got some loaded topics on the menu tonight. You know what I'm saying? As we're getting ready for the postseason to come up in the NBA right now. So just making sure that everybody in the chat is here in the building there too, man. So you know appreciate all the love and support, though, man. And, let's get down to the business here, shall we? So, oh, look who's here it is. Miss Tay Brown. Hey, how you doing, Tay? You know what, though, Tay? I'll be waiting for your mac and cheese when the show is over. I'm irresistible. What's up, LB? How you doing, brother? Y'all make sure to check out LB's Patreon, man. He's been putting up some good content on the Patreon there too. Yep, no problem, Brandon Nicholson. No problem, man. Listen, you've been always the first person that's always come up on this channel all the time. You deserve a wrench for that, man. Real talk, bro. Real talk. But yeah, let's get down to business here, shall we? She said, I got all night. I don't have to work. Okay. Well, if you don't have to work, well then, hey, I guess we can have a nice meal plan, shall we? I would bring you in, Tay, but you don't know basketball, unfortunately. So I think you'd be a bit out of your element, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to do that to you that way. So, but okay, enough of that. Let's get down to the business here, shall we? All right. But you know, the thing that I think that I've been enjoying about this little bubble the season of NBA basketball. You know what I'm saying? It's the kind of performances that we've been seeing. And you ask, who am I talking about? I'm specifically talking about Mr. Damian Lillard here. The man has been on a scoring tear over the last 3 games. All right. As I see my brothers, Mr. Big Chess in here. Yes, sir. And I see my you know, my brother too, Lewis the Writer Sports in here too. Tay saying, I'm not afraid. Yes, get down to your business. Oh, you say you're not afraid, huh? Okay, okay, okay. I'm not gonna say anything else. Big J says Damian Alfonso Lillard. Okay, so Damian Lillard, the brother has been playing out of his mind. Literally, he's been playing out of his mind. If you've been watching his last 3 games, he's been putting up 51, 61, 43. All right. He has scored over 152 points over the last 3 ball games right now. And last night, thankfully, and also happy birthday to Magic Johnson too. I'll get to him in a second there. But the way that he's been scoring the basketball, he has been doing it all over the place. The best I watched the game last night between the Brooklyn Nets and the Portland Trailblazers. Okay, and when Damian Lillard pulled up and hit that long range three from near the NBA logo, that was like a huge momentum shifter for the Portland Trailblazers. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because pretty much throughout the second half, the Brooklyn Nets controlled the game. Okay, they were a step ahead. They were, getting after the rebounds. They were getting after loose balls. And can we say that Karis LeVert is an absolute beast? I mean, just wait until Kyrie and KD get back on that team. I'm telling y'all, the NBA better be scared. But But I digress. See, the one thing that I was noticing from the Blazers is that you know they were still they were still in the game, but they always feel comfortable in this positions when they're always sometimes by down by double digits, not like 20 plus, but at least 10 plus, right? And when it came down to the fourth quarter, you had the sense that Damian Lillard was going to find a way to will his team to victory, one way or another. He was going to find a way, to will his team to victory. And the three that he made from near the logo was just unbelievable. And he was making plays. He was dribble penetrating. He was finding his shooters. And CJ McCollum was not having a good shooting night from his normal standards. And you also have to consider the fact that he's been dealing with a back injury too. So that has a lot to do with how he's not been as effective. But when it came down to the last few minutes of the game, right? What happened afterwards? The Brooklyn Nets had the rebound. They were ready to bring the ball up to try to score again, right? Damian Lillard hustles to get the dive for that loose ball to get the steal, and they basically were down by a point, and then basically CJ McCollum did his thing. He played ring around the rosy with the basketball, pulled up and hit the shot to pretty much put the dagger on the game. All right, big victory for the Portland Trailblazers. All right, now if they beat the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow in the playing game, they will secure the eighth and final playoff spot in the Western Conference. All right, now I did a video yesterday explaining why the Portland Trailblazers are a dangerous team in the postseason. Okay, here's the thing, though, guys. All right, the thing that people need to understand about the Portland Trailblazers is that their front line is fantastic. Okay, with Zach Collins off the bench, when you got you know Nurak Jurgic off the bench, and then when you got Hassan Whiteside doing his thing on the floor too, they have a very good versatile front line. All right, and you also have to consider the Carmelo Anthony factor. All right, he's been averaging at least 20 to 23 points per game in the entire shortened season. Right, so at some point that Carmelo Anthony is going to be due for at least a 30-point performance at some point. I always tell people all the time, sure, a great player may be older and still maybe not as effective as he once was. But trust me, great players still have one or two or three great games still left in their tank. And I personally believe that we have yet to see a great game out of Carmelo, the legendary game out of Carmelo Anthony. And if you're a Lakers fan, if you have to face against the Blazers in the first round, right? You have to be mindful that Melo has not broken out that entirely yet. We've seen what Damian Lillard is going to do, and trust me, they're going to do whatever they can to double and triple team him to try to get the ball out of his hands. And it's going to be up to guys like C.J. McCollum, Melo, and Gary Trent Jr. off the bench to hit open shots. Right. So you have the backcourt to consider. You have Zach Collins off your bench. You have Gary Trent Jr. And by the way, Gary Trent Jr. is from Apple Valley. Shout out to him. He has been putting in major work off the bench. He's going to be a really good player in the NBA for years to come. All right. So you add all that into consideration, right? The big thing is this. I totally believe that the Lakers are still going to win their first round series against the Blazers. I think they'll figure out a way to basically limit Damian Lillard's effectiveness. All right, but that Damian Lillard is still going to get his numbers, right? How is the supporting cast going to step up and play their roles, right? Now you also have to consider the flip side to this, right? The Lakers right now, they don't have their best defenders on the backcourt right now. Rondo's hurt. Avery Bradley's not playing, right? Okay. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are still two of the best players in the league right now, right? But there have been stretches where they've not shown their complete effectiveness, and so there's a lot on the line in this first round series. Okay, and I believe what Lou the writer of sports is saying. That's he believes that Portland could win it all. They might. I mean, here's the thing. This postseason is going to be a little bit wacky. Don't be surprised if there's going to be a lot of different, unexpected upsets that could happen out of this. All right. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that the Lakers are still going to beat the Blazers in basically in 6 games, right? I tend to believe that the better team is always going to find a way to win, right? But it, I've seen the Lakers at times, play subpar basketball against their subpar competition, and so if they don't come out with the aggressiveness that is necessary in postseason time, they're going to find a way to lay an egg and lose. All right. I tend to believe that LeBron James. Here's the thing. I tend to believe that LeBron James is going to do whatever he can not to lose in the first round. Right? He listen. As much as we all want to criticize LeBron James for a lot of the other stuff, which I totally get and I understand, one thing's for certain, right? When it comes to postseason time, LeBron understands that everything that he does is going to get scrutinized and is going to get judged on a huge microscope. And if he lays an egg in the first round, it is going to hurt its legacy significantly. All right. There's already a good section of basketball fans that see LeBron James in a very different light, right? If he finds a way to lose in the first round, it's going to really hurt him a lot. Definitely so. All right. I truly believe that at this particular point, I think that at this point, I think that the Blazers they have a good chance in the first round. All right, I'm not going to say great chance. They have a good chance. All right, they have to find a way to continue to create shots for Damian Lillard because they're gonna take away their pick and roll sets. All right, I can vision LeBron James and his team strategizing. Listen, he's gonna use pick and roll to try to get his open shots. Right, we need our bigs to step out and contest those shots. Right, anytime that he crosses half court, we're double teaming it. We're going to force him to get rid of the basketball and make the other guys, beat us. If they make their shots, hey, they did their job, but we're not going to let Damian Lillard score 40 points on us. It's not going to happen. That's what I believe that they're going to try to do at this particular point. All right. So as I move on to the next section, the next subject in hand here, let me check out the chat real quick. All right, you guys. Tay says smash the like button. Appreciate it, Tay. Mr. Big J says, in the words of Stephen A. Snitch, this brother is sensational. My goodness. He shot 53% from three. Like Steph and Clay are the only two good to shoot with that minimum of 12 threes taken. Right, absolutely. Ludo Rider Sports says 2021 Finals Brooklyn Nets for the LA Clippers. We're gonna get into that in a few minutes. So hold on to that. Mr. Big Chest says LeBron will do everything not to lose in the first round. 33.4 points per game in the first round for his career. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I do believe he's never lost in the first round. I might be wrong. I don't think he's lost in the first round. But if they find a way to lose in the first round, it is going to be significantly bad. All right, and he can't use the excuse of, oh, we were missing up all this time. We really got our guys again. Nope. You want to return back to basketball during the pandemic. Well, we're going to get yourself into. There's no excuses now. Absolutely no excuses. All right. Ludo Rider Sports says, old man LeBron can't jump like he kind of lost a step. True. Listen, I still think that LeBron is still a phenomenal athlete at this age, but I tend to think that at some point, Father Time is going to, catch up with him. It catches up with great players. No matter how much you try to delay, your Father Time, it's always going to catch up with you. I do tend to think it will catch up with them at some point. Hey, 225 girl, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Brandon Nicholson says, it would be bad enough that LeBron missed the playoffs last season. If he loses in the first round, it'd be very hard to recover. Right, exactly. You're absolutely right. Mr. Big Chest says he's never lost in the first round. Okay, yep, that's what I thought. He's lost in round 2 3 times. Once to Dwayne Wade and twice to the Celtics. Right. What reminded me of something? When Elder Ruffins was basically talking about how LeBron, basically pulled out the move to go to Miami, and he talked about how, Kevin Durant made the weak move going to, the Golden State Warriors after blowing a 3-1 lead. That I partially agree with to a certain extent. But here's the thing. Here's the big thing. LeBron lost 2 out of 3 years in the playoffs to the Boston Celtics. Why did not stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers and try to find a way to get over the hump against the Boston Celtics? All right. Remember, this is before he moved to Miami, right? That to me right there does not make any sense. It is basically it's a bit of a similar situation, but a touch bit different. All right. So keep the same energy with that. But as I digress, okay. My point is this: the Lakers better be careful in this first round. All right, they still can go out there confidently that they can win. You know what I'm saying? But if they go in there and think that they're gonna breeze right through the Portland Trailblazers, they're badly mistaken. Okay, they're badly mistaken. So they better be careful when it comes down to the postseason time. All right. So as I regress to the next subject in hand, there, guys, just let me know if you have any questions in the chat there too, as I ramble through the next subjects in hand here. Okay, so the San Antonio Spurs lost last night, so therefore their 22 year run of postseason appearances has finally come to an end. All right. And yesterday, when I was watching, Greg Popovich, through his press conference, he tried to put it off as, as classic Popovich, but then he kind of, reflected about how much of a great run the organization has had during the 22 years that it made to the postseason. During the over course of that postseason run, right? They basically made the postseason 22 times, right? Okay, they made the conference finals in '99, 2001, all right, 2003, all right, 2005, 2007, 2008. I mean, good grief. I mean, I mean, my fingers, I don't have enough fingers to count how many times they made the conference finals. And then compiled to the fact that they won 5 NBA championships during that entire postseason run of success is a phenomenal run. And you could reflect all the way back to 1997 when David Robinson injured his back and when Sean Elliott injured his knee and when they had the worst record in the NBA that year and were given the #1 overall pick to draft Tim Duncan. All right. Oh, what's up, Lewis Sports Network? He said he's never lost. He never has lost, but the opponents LeBron has faced won less than 50 games in the first round. At least the amount of wins against an opponent is 38 wins. So it's undefeated record in the first round overrated. My brother, you had just said the most obvious point that a lot of these LeBron fans hate to hear. They absolutely hate to hear. You are absolutely 100% on the money, right? And consider the fact that they played in a weak Eastern Conference. That's a big difference because if you're facing against a team if you're facing against a team that's won less than 50 games in the first round, all right, and the least amount of wins the opponent is 38 wins, I mean, bro, come on. That to me is just a bit attached overrated. And he also said, which is why he's so undefeated in Cleveland and two super teams with exception for 2018. 18. Exactly. You got that right. Mr. Big Dish says, I mean, Hill, if it wasn't for the missed goaltend, they'd have lost it in the 2018. There you go. Right. The missed goaltend in the game 7. Right? Man, you're absolutely right. They listen, 2018 was a joke, all right? There's no way that Cleveland team should have made it to the finals that year with that joke of a roster. Listen, when they got to the finals, they had no chance. No chance of beating that Warriors team. I don't listen, even despite the fact that he dropped 51 in game 1. You knew at some point that they was going to find a way to get themselves out of their own way and leave it to J.R. Smith to do that. I mean, it is what it is, guys. I mean, it is what it is. Hey, what's going on, Hamilton Johns? Welcome, welcome. My brother D McGee's in the building. Salute, brother. Louis Sparkles Network says means in Miami, and when he went back to Cleveland, he played on the most talented team in the East. There you go. There you go. Exactly. You listen, Louis Sports Network. You and I know what time it is with this stuff. we know what time it is when it comes to these matchups and when it comes to all these different kind of situations. What a lot of at least LeBron fans like to do, they like to deflect that and say like it doesn't matter. He did what he had to do. It don't matter. Yes, it does matter. All right. If he plays in the Western Conference, do you honestly think that he gets to all the NBA Finals appearances? Come on, guys. Let's be real about this. Let's be honest about that, you guys. Let's be honest about it. Listen, if he were playing in the Western Conference, he ain't making what 6 to 7 straight trips to the NBA Finals. Come on, bro. Come on. Mr. Big Chest says LeBron knew that they had no chance because in the Eastern Conference Championship presentation, he said that he didn't want to think about the Warriors. Well, there you go. Brandon Nicholson says LeBron fanboys hate any kind of critique that's made towards LeBron. Hey, you know what we go through all the time. You know what time it is. 205 Girl says his last year in Cleveland, in my opinion, I think that they tanked some of those games so they wouldn't have to play so they wouldn't play in the first round. Hey, what's going on, Gideon? What's going on, Gideon? That guy's basketball brain is top off the charts, bro. For real, man. And he also says salute to the rest of the chat. Yep. So back to my conversation about the Spurs. Okay, we'll get back to the LeBron thing a little bit later. But for me, for the San Antonio Spurs, all them postseason runs that they had and all them championships, I mean, they were a huge success. And yes, it had a lot to do with the foundation of Tim Duncan, right? If David Robinson didn't, you know, basically gracefully, let himself out of the way and allow Tim Duncan to hold the reins, there's a good chance they would not won probably they wouldn't want won them championships, right? Because we've got to remember, David Robinson, even though he was still a very athletic center, he was not the same dominant force as he was in the early '90s when he was basically dropping 30 piece on everybody and winning the MVP in '95. This was a different David Robinson, right? So David Robinson made a huge sacrifice of you know not being the same dominant force he once was and letting Tim Duncan take over the reins. All right. And what you got out of it, you got the best out of Tim Duncan during those years when he was basically showing you all the great post work, the fundamentals. I mean, Tim Duncan, it was unbelievable how much we've seen Tim Duncan grow as a basketball player. And then when David Robinson retired after winning their second championship, you saw the growth of Manu Ginobili. You saw the growth of Tony Parker into basically great players. All right. You saw the growth of Kawhi Leonard as a superstar. I mean, everything grew around in the Spurs. The big thing about the big knock against the Spurs, from my perspective, is that they never won back-to-back championships. They would win the championship, but they would always run into a roadblock during the quest to win a second straight championship, and they would either burn out in the postseason or just lose against a team that was basically slightly better than that. You know, I think that what the Spurs did is going to be remembered in the eyes of many as one of the greatest, successful postseason, runs of sustained excellence during that time. All right, even though they didn't win back-to-back championships, they won 5 championships during the 22, 22 seasons, right? And they didn't have to build a super team. Most of those guys were basically through the draft. You know, Parker was through the draft. Ginobili was through the draft. They brought in Steven Jackson in as a free agent, as a young undrafted free agent, right? Bruce Bowen was shipped around various teams. He was in the CBA. His career was nearly over until he was given a chance in Miami, and then was basically brought into San Antonio to be their defensive specialist and their corner 3-point specialist, right? They could have won. They could have won the title in '04. They could have won it in '06 and maybe 2013 if it wasn't for Ray Allen, right? So, with the San Antonio Spurs, they committed to the draft, they committed to player development, and they basically grew a lot of great players out of it. Patty Mills became a really good player. Tiago Splitter had some good moments, right? There were a lot of interesting personalities that really developed in the Spurs system, and it's just a testament to to the organization for scouting the best talent, and for Greg Popovich for being able to, discipline the talent and being able to allow them to grow and flourish. The other thing that I really respect with Greg Popovich was is that he treated everybody the same. There was no favoritism, with Greg Popovich. He even yelled at Tim Duncan a lot. If you're a player and you see the coach, going after the superstar very, very hard, that demands more out of the superstar, it's contagious with everybody, because you look at that and you say, "Oh, if the coach is being hard on our best player, what's he gonna? What? Well, I need to step up and play better to get his approval." So, at the end of the day, man, you know, the Spurs, really grew into themselves during that whole era. And they had great rivalries along the way. You had, the Mavericks, with their great playoff wars with Dirk Nowitzki in 2006, 2000 and what, 2009, I think. And you had obviously the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. Rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. You had great rivalries during that time. In fact, there was a period of time where basically the Spurs and the Lakers were basically trading, championships, right? The Spurs won the title in '99. The Lakers won three in a row, and then the Spurs won two out of three from 2003 and 2005. And so, it's really unbelievable how, both of those franchises really intertwined with one another, and they really push themselves, to beat each other in the postseason, right? People talked about how the Sacramento Kings were the best rival of the Lakers. That's entirely false. The Sacramento Kings, they basically gave the Lakers everything they had. You know what I mean? They gave them scares, but they did not beat the Lakers in the postseason. The Spurs beat the Lakers in the postseason in 1999, 2003, right? They basically beat the Lakers to win those championships, right? They were the real rivals to the Lakers, not the Kings. All right, and it's certainly not the Portland Trailblazers. Even though they gave the Lakers everything they had to as well, but they did not complete the job in beating them. All right, the Spurs did. All right, and so at the end of the day, I Tim Duncan's already in the Hall of Fame. Popovich is already going to go in. I believe that Tony Parker will go in based on what he did as a Spur and his international career. And I think Manu's case, maybe a tad bit difficult, but you also have to consider the fact that he also led Argentina to the gold medal in the 2004 Olympics. So I think that he'll eventually will get in at some point. Kawhi Leonard, if he ends up staying healthy and wins another championship, he's obviously going to go in. So the Spurs really did a great job of, sustaining that excellence. But unfortunately, the downfall came when they basically failed to keep, Kawhi Leonard happy in San Antonio, considering the injury the hamstring injury that he was going through. The whole controversy about, only playing 9 games, and basically the Spurs trying to rush him to coming back, and, Kawhi wasn't receptive. He didn't want to come back, you know, and then basically the team was trying to rush him to coming back. And, he basically was saying, you know what, I don't want to be here. And so that kind of began the downfall. And, it's kind of unfortunate what the Spurs at what it became at this particular point, but you can enjoy what they were able to achieve. So I think in the near future, I think Craig Popovich is going to probably retire into the sunset and let Tim Duncan take over the team. But who knows? Maybe Greg Popovich would want to go coach elsewhere, maybe with the Brooklyn Nets or something like that. We never know. I tend to believe that Greg Popovich would retire into the sunset and just be satisfied for what he was able to achieve in his career. Because remember, he was a coach that had to fight to earn coaching opportunities. All right, he had to really fight to earn his place, and then he earned a spot as a general manager for the San Antonio Spurs in the mid '90s until he took the job as a head coach, and that's where everything began. And so at the end of the day, congratulations to the Spurs on their great postseason success, and we'll see what the new era of the San Antonio team is gonna look like at this particular point as they look to try to return back to their postseason ways. So with that out the way, let me check out the chat real quick before I move on to the next here. What's going on, X Gucci? Hey, make sure to subscribe to X Gucci 23 though, guys. Putting out some great content on MMA. Yeah. Mrs. Big Chest says Gideon they should have won in 2013. Yeah, we all know. We know they should have won in 2013. In fact, I might do that. I might reflect back on that game 6 of that 2013 finals because the Spurs let that slip out of their hands. Really. Gideon says the Blazers survived by the skin of their teeth and the birth nearly sent them packing. I know, bro. I know. Listen, Karis LeVert is going to be a problem for for a lot of the league at this particular point. All right, he's going to be a really good third option, and trust me, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, I would keep Karis LeVert. I'm not trading him anywhere else because I did remember seeing rumors about Zach LaVine wanting to come into the Brooklyn Nets, but they would have to trade Karis LeVert in doing so. I think it would be a big mistake to do that. I really do. All right. What's up, big dog Willie? How you doing, brother? Salute, man. Salute. Yeah, a lot of different perspectives on the chat there too, guys. Mr. Big Chest says, "Damn, it's crazy to think that Kobe and Duncan basically owned the entire decade." I know. Yeah, bro. They basically owned the entire decade, and you think about all those guys that were denied championships for a little while. Dirk and KG particularly. KG had to wait till 2008 to win his championship, and Dirk Nowitzki, through sheer determination and will, carried the Mavericks to the 2011 NBA championship. Just amazing how everything is going. And he says, salute pimpin'. Bro, salute pimpin'. And Scooter says, thank you for the shout out. Thank you for the shout out. No problem, man. No problem, man, whatsoever, man. No problem. So, you guys, with that out the way. So, now we're gonna get into I'm gonna get into one little quick and note thing. My Chicago Bulls finally made the right decision in firing Jim Boylan. Thank God, because I couldn't stand Jim Boylan's the sight of his face on my television screen. That guy was literally losing the team, and they were getting ready to walk out on him. All right, I'm thankful they did that because it was just becoming much more unbearable. And they were pretty much saying that they were still in favor of him, keeping him on the as a head coach. Yeah, right. After what the players were pretty much was saying about him, as a Bulls fan, I didn't want that guy on, sitting on the sidelines. I couldn't stand him, you guys. It was just driving me absolutely crazy. No doubt in my mind, man. So, Lewis, the Sports Network, says the Spurs had a great ride of success for 22 years straight. Yep, absolutely. Lewis, just want to say, I will say that Dane Dollar has to be careful of playing through the base and not to try to do it himself because he's playing too many minutes, and the Lakers will try to take away the picks and screens. Yep, exactly, bro. That's a really good point. Louis Wegman said, I'm so glad Jim Boylan got fired. Yeah, exactly, bro. I couldn't stand him, man. And the players couldn't stand him either. All right. His approach, he was just not a guy that just particularly enjoyed, coaching that team. And it really showed through to the players. Particularly from Zach LaVine. When I remember one game during the season where he was scoring 40 plus, right? And he tried to take Zach LaVine out of the ball game, right? And basically, Zach LaVine blasted him through the media. Like, listen, that guy was a terrible coach, and the Bulls players did not want to listen to him anymore. And obviously, the organization knew that they wanted to keep him, but the players did not want him around. And so, the organization finally made the right choice, and for instance, and got rid of his ass. Thank goodness. Now now they're gonna have to start cleaning house on the front office. All right, get rid of Garth Fullman, get rid of John Paxson, get rid of them guys, man. Get rid of them. They listen. They did pretty good with through the Tom Thibodeau teams, but right now that has run its course. Get rid of them dudes, man. And please, I hope to God, please, Jerry Bronson, please sell the team. Please sell the team. I can't stand that cheap. I can't stand cheapskate Jerry Reinsdorf as the owner anymore. Okay, I don't trust he would make the good decision of finding the right coach to basically help lead this team. I really don't. Just like with Lou the World Spicer said, I don't trust Jerry Reinsdorf in making the right hire as the next coach of the Chicago Bulls because he's too cheap. Yep, I totally agree with you 100%. If in a perfect world for me, I would love to see Mark Jackson coaching my Chicago Bulls. I would love for him to see what he can do with that roster. But I don't believe that Jerry Reinsdorf will do it. I really don't. But I'm glad that he's out of there. I'm so glad that he's gone. Now I can finally breathe for once. So, with that out the way, now I'm going to get into about the Russell Westbrook injury situation, right? Because he injured his left squad a couple of days ago, right? And it's been reported that Russell Westbrook is going to be out at least for the first round of the playoffs, right? Now, do I think that they'll still be all right, in the first round? I do. I think they'll still be all right. But with Russell Westbrook out of the lineup, it does change things from a matchup standpoint because Russell Westbrook is a very good penetrator and he's a little bit of a better passer than James Harden is. Now you're putting James Harden in a position where he's going to have to really assert himself the entire offensive scoring load, which he's basically been comfortable doing over the last couple of seasons, right? But right now, I don't see the Rockets, doing much, in the first round because of the size problem. People remember size matters in the NBA. It doesn't matter if your small lineup can score a lot of points, right? If they can't rebound the ball and they can't end their defense of rebounding the ball and starting their offense, then what's the point of starting those small guys on your basketball team, right? I've been getting so sick and tired of Mike D'Antoni, you know, always coming in here, trying to play that small ball lineup to try to, quicken the pace a bit. And it's not worked for him for a championship. So why do you think it would work now? All right. So I think that, the missing Russell Westbrook will hurt the Rockets significantly in terms of what he will be able to do. Like I said, he's a very good penetrator. He attacks the rim very, very well, and he always will get to the free throw line, right? I think that you know Mike D'Antoni is going to have to find a way to incorporate James Harden with some off the ball plays to get him some shots, right? Instead of having him hold the ball for about 7 to 8 seconds on the shot clock, dribbling between his legs to try to create a shot. In the long run, that's not quality offense. So they're going to have to really find a way to maneuver without Russell Westbrook for a while. And if you're the Rockets right now, if you don't get out of the first round and make a deep postseason run, you got to cut the cord on Mike D'Antoni. You're gonna have to find a way to cut the cord and really start restructuring the roster to try to incorporate some bigs, not just random bigs, but athletic bigs to try to help with the rebounding and also the interior defense. Because I tend to believe, I really tend to believe that the lack of size is really going to hurt them. As Loser Sports Network says, my issue with the Houston team is the lack of size, poor play style choice. All right, 3-point shot jacking, low basketball IQ in the fourth quarter, and a head coach who doesn't believe. Yep, exactly, bro. Those are legit concerns, and I try to tell people that listen, you really think Mike D'Antoni's system is going to work for this team? Listen, sure, it got him to a conference finals back in 2018, but let's be honest here. All right, let's be truly honest. Has it worked to really win a championship? It hasn't. I tend to really believe right now that that injury is going to hurt them significantly, but there's still a lot more issues to the Rockets that people don't realize. So I could see them, losing in the first round, and then they're going to have to really reassess this roster. They're really going to have to really reassess the roster and think, what can we do to improve it? You're going to have to bring in, good versatile bigs who can still shoot, but also can bang on both boards. Plus, you need to get rid of Mike D'Antoni. I firmly believe that his time has run its course. I don't know how many chances that Mike D'Antoni can get as a head coach. His system don't work to win a championship. I just don't get it. You're going to have to bring in a coach that's going to have a better structured system that's going to command the respect of both Russell Westbrook, and James Harden to play a different style of basketball that's going to predicate in basically playing team ball. You can't play this individual ball for too long, and it's the lack of size is really going to hurt them in the long run. Louis Spartan Edwards says there's no man or ball movement. Right, absolutely. And make sure to smash the like button so too, guys. We got about 14 likes in the building. Make sure to hit the like button, guys. So Gideon says, I agree, Lewis. Rockets care more about their stats and analytics rather than running plays and smarter sets. Well, you know what they run. Brandon Nicholson says the lack of size is really going to hurt the Rockets this postseason. Yep, they will. Right. Luther Rider Sports says selfish basketball players never win in the end, at the end. You are absolutely right about that. Yep, I definitely agree. Gideon says Blazers have some problem too at times. Yeah, that's my concern too. My concern with those Blazers, and I'm gonna get into that bit shortly. But I tend to think right now the Rockets they need to really reassess this roster. They really do. The things that they've done to this roster is just beyond ridiculous. Trading Clint Capella will go down as a very big mistake that's going to hurt them in the long run. I'm telling you that right now. As Miss Tay Brown says, night, Abil. Okay, Tay, you have yourself a good night. And I'll be still waiting for my mac and cheese when the show is over with. You know what I'm saying. Have a good night. Brandon Nicholson says Portland takes too many trips to Jack City, jacking up those crazy shots. They look good when they go in, but when they don't, yikes. I know. That's my concern too about the Blazers. If they, to be honest with you, the Blazers, sometimes play in a little bit of a similar way to the Rockets. They like to jack up crazy shots. They like they like to shoot all over the court. But when the shots don't go in, that's not smart basketball. You know what I mean? They have to be careful of avoiding that if they're basically gonna have a chance in the first round. Gideon says the Blazers can challenge the Lakers if they get into the playoffs. I don't think they would beat them because Dame and CJ are kind of up and down in the playoffs if you use your eye test. I know. I absolutely tend to believe that. I do tend to believe that. I think that they're going to have to prove something in the postseason to really warrant, a possible chance to make a deep postseason run. All right. He also said that the Blazers need to move the ball and find the open man. Definitely agree with you on that. So that's what I kind of tend about the whole Rocket situation. So that's pretty much it is about that. So for this last topic of the night, I've been thinking about the favorites coming out of the playoffs. I'm talking about the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, shout out to Lou Ryder Sports about what happened to Giannis being suspended one game for the headbutt. I think that suspension was kind of a little bit. It's kind of bogus to me. Like the dude was trying to get into his face, man. I mean, what are we supposed to do, right? You know, he was basically getting himself into something with Mo Wagner, and you basically headbutted the dude. Listen, it's just I don't get why you have to get even with somebody that's way below than you. I just never understood that. But you know, my point is this, though, guys. I tend to think that right now, if you're the favorites, like the Bucks, the Clippers, and the Lakers, the thing that you have to be concerned about is complacency. If they slip up at any moment, they're gonna lose. They're definitely gonna lose, right? I think the Bucks understand what they need to do, even though they kind of been iffy in this bubble period. I think that they're gonna start waking up, put their screws together, and start you know making the necessary adjustments needed to really make things work, right? Now, if you're the Clippers, all right, here's my thing about the Clippers. They're talented, they're deep, but here's the thing that I'm seeing with the Clippers, right? There's always confusion about who's going to be playing enough minutes on the floor to really do something. There's always some sort of dysfunction about players' roles, how many minutes that they're playing on the floor, or Is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George taking the majority of the shots, or are they just not doing enough on the leadership standpoint to really take the reins in? Is Doc Rivers doing enough to play, putting good sets in to really utilize, the talent that he has? So right now, Portland is, I'm sorry, the Clippers right now to me, they're deep, they're talented, but if they don't figure out a way to utilize the players that they have and try to juggle things out, they're not they're not going to reach the conference final. And I tend to think right now, I think that uh, if they focus way too much on the Lakers instead of taking care of business in the postseason, they're gonna lose to one of those teams that they should be beating them, easily. And I tend to think right now they need to start tightening up the screws and start to figure out who are my best 10 guys that I could put on the floor right now that are going to give me the best chance to win. Because a lot of the players are going to have to realize they're not going to get the kind of minutes that they're going to get in the regular season. All right. Typically, a good coach is going to rely at least on 6 to 10 players off his bench on his team to really get them to where they want to go. Right now, if Doc Rivers wants to play 11 to 12 lead, that's a good thing. But the one thing that Doc Rivers sometimes doesn't utilize well enough is sometimes his bench and sometimes his sets. You know, is really gonna really hurt themselves in the long run. So I tend to think right now. I think that the Clippers, if they don't start to wake up and take it seriously, they're gonna lose to a team that they should be beating. So that's it. That's how I kind of think of it. Now the Lakers. Obviously, I've been having had my gripes with the Lakers, for a while, right? Now I tend to think right now. I tend to think that you know, the Lakers right now, you know, they have this kind of mechanism where they put their foot off the gas pedal way too much, and sometimes get to see the worst out of Anthony Davis, and sometimes you get to see the worst out of LeBron James. I really believe though at this point, I think that the Lakers they're gonna wake up, and I think that they're gonna recognize. Listen, we cannot mess around. This is Laker tradition, and they expect nothing but championship or bust. And as I see the OG Ransby and Suit the third in the building. Salute, bro. Salute, man. I've been loving your dog live streams for 78. Those you guys have been chopping it up very, very well. I love your conversations. I tend to think right now the Lakers, if I had to rank of who would be the teams that would most likely have some trouble in the first round or probably lose, Milwaukee would be dead last. The Clippers would probably be second, and the Lakers would be first, from my opinion. Okay. Now, if the teams start to make their adjustments on the fly and start pounding on teams that they should be beating, then obviously we should be good. But I think that you know the Lakers, if they lose one of their key guys in AD or LeBron James at some point, it is really going to affect their championship aspirations. And Ransom says, "Right on, bro. I appreciate that. Hashtag still realer than dead." That never gets old. But yeah, I think that right now these three teams, if they're gonna entertain any championship aspirations, it starts this upcoming weekend. Okay, if they put their foot off the gas pedal, they may up lose it. All right, and considering how different these low seeds are in this different playoff format, I think that right now, I think that you know the lower seeds right now can tend to be the most dangerous, considering some of these lower seeds could probably be better than the top seeds. You know what I mean? This is a different type of playoff format, you guys. So don't be surprised if we see some weird scoring games or some possible shocking upsets into the mix, though, too, guys. So that's how I kind of see it right now, and hopefully that we get to see some entertaining basketball, during the weeks ahead. But I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down for the night, though, guys. But I'm very, very glad that I did this show with you guys. It was pretty much fun. It was pretty much entertaining, and I appreciate to everybody in the chat that's been pretty much holding that down, though, too, guys. But I'm gonna go ahead and start getting ready for work tomorrow morning. But get ready, guys. You know, Mr. Big Chance says the Lakers better straighten up. Definitely agreed. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down for the night, though, guys. But you guys have been holding that down. You guys have been great. Make sure to hit the smash the like button on the layout. Oh, by the way, if you want to donate, any amount of money to the value of this channel, I posted the PayPal and the Cash App links underneath the description box. And I'm going to start doing that throughout most of my videos and my live streams. If you want to donate any money to the value of this channel, you know, the options right there for you is 100% risk free. So, but it is what it is, though, guys. But appreciate all the love and support, though, guys. But it's been really, really been fun. Make sure to keep your notifications up for the event when I start posting videos during the weekend and throughout the remainder of the week. But I'll be back next week, for the playoffs, and we're gonna be talking about some of the great games, performances, and some upsets that will happen along the way. So this is Abil Mahari, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC, and I'm glad I did this show with you guys. And hope y'all have a great night and stay safe out there. Y'all take care, guys. Peace.